Start now. Recording started, and we are underway for the January 2023 webinar. And who would have thought, Pete, that you were stepping up for Robbie on this trip?
Well, who would have thought? I'm always looking after him, filling in for him when he can't get there. But good evening, everyone, and hope this finds you well wherever you may be.
So Peter, for this, I'll let you tell what you've been doing, but not only do we come up here and look at 1,000 horses, you actually, Robbie sends you off on the goose chase, so to speak, and you head off to the Hunter early and all around Victoria, and you can explain how that'll work.
Oh, well, with the help of the Magic Million staff, of course, with Tim Brown in Victoria, we get around a few of the major farms like Yulong and Rosemont and Three Bridges, the ones that were available to see the horses before they moved on up, and there was about 100 odd there. And then from the 12th to the 16th of December, joined a small group of about 10 or a dozen, and we visited so many farms in the Hunter Valley, I can't remember, but it was about 500 odd we saw in the Hunter Valley. So it does give you a really good head start, gives you a lot of comparing data to different stallions, especially the first season stallions like Zustain and Parata and whatnot. It's really good to get a bit of data before you get here, and then just put a bit of shine on things when you get here, and see the ones that obviously the Queensland ones, and some of the farms we didn't get to, and by Sunday night we'd seen 900 odd book one horses. Still the book two horses aren't here yet. There's another 300 there. We'll get through them later in the week, but for now we've got our head around the 900 odd in the book one, and we've had second day of second look, and we've got ourselves a very long short list, and hopefully with a little bit of genetic research tonight, we can narrow that down and have a discussion about which ones we're going to head for.
And looks like we've got Robbie. You there, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm on my mobile phone, so I'm not sure how well that.
Not well.
Not going well, Robbie, at this point. So, so if there's any questions. Sorry?
Is that working?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but you might need to do it without the picture, Robbie, just so you have the, which is fine, just means people can hear you better.
Am I coming through your end?
Yeah, you're coming through with sound. Can you hear us okay?
I can see you and Pete and everything like that.
So if you leave your camera off, because if you turn your camera on, that means it'll just basically take a bit more data and you'll break up.
All right, so what do you want me to do?
Just leave it how it is. We can hear you now. All good. We don't need the vision. So all good. So what we've done so far, Robbie, is we've just talked about basically Peter's role pre-sale and how important that is to go up to the Hunter and obviously all around Victoria to see these horses in their natural environment before we get to the sales.
That's right.
Sure.
I will let you go from there, Robbie, if you want to talk a little bit about what Pete does there.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Pete does for the stable is going to the farms to see them in the natural environment, and at the beginning of the preparation is very good because one, it shortcuts a lot of work, but also two, you get to see the horses at the beginning of the preparation for the sales, and you get to see how strong they are and how they come on, because some of those horses now, if they've digressed as their preparation, you get to see that they might not be a strong enough horse to handle the rigors of training. So you might put a negative mark on them. And some of the ones that have absolutely flourished, Pete and I and Matthew will say, geez, that is a horse that loves being in training. They've loved the stable environment. So that's a big tick, Yep. So some of those horses that Peter's seen, 6 weeks ago, 7 or 8 weeks ago, they will have a big tick if they've really gained a lot of weight and love being in the preparation. That's a good tick that they will be he or she will be a horse that loves being a racehorse and loves being in that pressure environment. So there's some of the things that Peter's experience over many years of work with horses, and Matthew and myself, they're the things that you look at when you look at them weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah, and the other thing, some people might say, as a horse trainer, why would you want somebody else looking at the horses? Obviously, yourself and Matthew make the final call on any horses, but if you can expand on the value that a bloodstock agent like Peter adds to a stable like us, because for some people that might not know how it works, it'd be interesting to hear how that adds value and what it is that they can do that the trainers can't, I guess.
I don't think anyone's has a single opinion in sporting associations these days. I think, AFL, they don't, they might have a head coach, but they have a team, I think that you have assistants, you have a panel, you have more than one mind. I don't think anyone is, I suppose, maybe arrogant's not the right word, but certainly single-minded enough to think that, one opinion is everything. I think you like to have more than one opinion to have a workshop on how things go. Yes, there's always a deciding factor, but I think when you have, many opinions and years and years of experience rolled into one melting pot, so to speak, I think you come up with a better decision at the end of the day. And you draw upon all of those experiences. So I think that it's a better way to go. And I think it's something that's happening in all sporting associations, not just racing.
Yeah, and I'll throw to you, Pete. You've been with Robbie for a lot of years. How exciting is it at the moment to see the quality of these youngsters that are coming through Robbie and Matt's stable?
Oh, look, it is, especially obviously the obvious one, Sarasana, and currently rated the highest 2-year-old in Australia, which is pretty exciting to do. When you look at 3,000 yearlings and you can pluck that one out of that group, it's really important. It's been excellent working with Robbie over the years, and to add Matthew's input the last few years has been outstanding. I think between the three of us, we all are a little bit opinionated. Robbie and I are usually on the same page, and we have an argument or two about odd ones. But I think the three opinions are really important. I've learned from Matthew. I'm not proud to say it as a 66-year-old man. I've learned from a 30-year-old man, and I'm sure it's I'm sure Robbie has enjoyed the input and the that comes with Matthew and his experience worldwide.
Yeah, definitely exciting. We actually today, Robbie, it was you realise the size and the enormousness of what it does when you have an exciting 2-year-old or an exciting, Oaks runner or Derby runner like we did this year. When you get back to the sales and you see those farms that you bought those horses from and how excited they are. So, for example, Kia Ora today asking for photos for their own social media, and yeah, it's you can feel that vibe, can't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we, Aberfeldy Boy come out of this sale, and people think Magic Millions is all about speed and golden slippers and Magic Millions and all those sort of runners. And as you mentioned, that with Sarasana, looking at the Blue Diamond series and so on with Kiora. But, the Aberfeldy Boy coming out of there, and here he should have won a Derby, So he come out of that sale, and I think we only bought, 5 or something horses that year. And at the same sale, when we bought him, we bought Michelotti for, I think, 40,000, and he's a dual Metropolitan winner and probably a bit stiff not to win New Year's Day at Flemington, So, and what a spectrum of purchasing from $40,000 with him off Raheen Stud there when we were talking to Basil Nolan there, and then at Strawberry Hill with Aberfeldy Boy, So it is a real buzz, the sales. It's very exciting when you're looking at a catalogue of over 1,000 horses, 1,200 horses for the week, and trying to find that diamond amongst the rough, like we did with Glenfiddich, a Group 1 horse, and Aberfeldy Boy, a Group 1 horse. And here we are doing it again. And we keep tightening up the selection criteria, and all going well, we'll come home with another great horse of the future.
Yeah, and as you can see on screen, and I mentioned it to the guys before, from the sales, since the partnership again with Matthew, the horses we've purchased from the sales are going at 66. It's actually 66.6% wins to runners. So, and that includes, for example, that first sale we came to, which Michelotti came from Aberfeldy Boy came from, and some other exciting horses like Very Bubbly came from that very first sale. What is the process when you're looking for a yearling?
Oh, well, we start. Oh, the phone fell off there then. Sorry, guys. We start with, we try to look at every horse in the catalogue on type, as we've looked at 1,000 horses through Peter starting at the farms, and Matthew would normally be here a bit sooner, but he's got his eye on the 2-year-olds trialling that are getting ready for the Blue Diamond series. So we try to look at every of the 1,000 horses on physical appearance. And then once we select a large group of shortlist, then we refine that shortlist by looking at the performance of the mares. And then we shorten that down with Peter. Will sit down with us and go through the genetic mix, which Peter's not just good at looking at the physical appearance, but also the genetic mix of what, grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandfathers and so on go genetically well with one another. And then from there, we'll knock it back to the veterinary team as to how they look on x-rays, etc. And then we'll put them in a numerical catalogue order. And then it gets down to budgets as to affordability. And through all of those sort of refining issues and strategies and so on, we'll determine which ones we can afford and what we come home with. There's some horses that will go out of our price range, and there's some horses that will lot. For example, we might like, lot 100 more than lot 90, for example. So we might have to put one before the other and miss both because of budgets. So things like that. But there's some horses that will just bid no matter what and hope like hell we get that particular he or she, and so on. So yeah, so there's a few there that strategies like that, and that's how we refine it down to a small percent. A lot of people must remember buying. Well, I think we bought 5 that year. You mentioned Aberfeldy Boy and Very Bubbly and so on. I think we bought 5, didn't we, Corey? And what?
Yeah,
what are those?
we've got Clock Strikes that shows a lot of promise as well. That's still sort of yet to really get into his career. So there's a couple there that should make that sale even more exciting for us.
So if we bought 5, so Very Bubbly's a Metro winner, Michelotti's Metro winner, and Aberfeldy Boy's yet to win, but he's a Group 1 horse. So, but even at 5, is only 0.5% of the sale. So it's, there's so many nice horses here. To narrow it down from 100% of the sale to buying 0.5% of the sale is a lot of work to get it down to that, because the sale's so big, But you try hard to look at successful. If you're not buying proven stands and you're looking at young stands, like first season stands, like this year, there's Paradas and Susains and some young stands, or even second season stands that haven't had much opportunity yet to prove data. You've got to try and look at proven data through their sire lines or things like that, which Peter will have a big input on with the genetic mix and crosses. So they're all the sort of things that we nut out now before tomorrow's bidding starts. And that's what we do.
Yep. And so I'll go through some questions. We've got some really good ones. The first question from Rob Dunnett, actually. So, hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Are you selecting yearlings? Are you only selecting Super Bovis yearlings, or do you look at all?
No, up here we tend to widen the net a little bit because we do concentrate more on Super Bovis in Melbourne because naturally there's more of it, and we're in Victoria. Up here, it's nice to have Bovis as well as a bonus, but up here the Magic Million series does last a lifetime for horses these days. So we tend to just look at the best physical type we can find with a pedigree that we think suits. And if it has Bovis bonus, it literally is a bonus. So we just try to find the nicest horse we can for what we think's the best value, and don't be too concerned about the bonus because they do have the Magic Million series. Whether we take advantage of that at 2 and 3, it does carry them on to their entire career.
And an exciting development with the Magic Millions with the announcement yesterday that there'll be $20 million worth of prize money by 2025.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? There are so many of the different bonus series around Australia with all the different companies, but that's another reason why you can not turn your back on Bovis, because it's a fantastic scheme that serviced Victoria so well. But you don't have to have, Bob's in Sydney or, Bovis in Victoria. You can, if you like a horse and it fits your bill, so to speak, you can buy it without worrying too much about a scheme, whatever that might be.
And I've got one about a specific lot here, so I might throw it to Peter because he has notes on it. Kevin Barnett was just asking about the Russian Revolution that has one of our favourite dams, Norwell, as the grand dam, and whether it made the short.
Yeah,
got-
yeah, Robbie, your notes, we've probably got similar notes, but it's definitely made a short.
Yeah, lot 150. I remember the horse. I know the horse really well. Lot 150 at Coolmore. Do you want to go for have a crack, Pete? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, well, it suits our criteria in that it has the momentum and the mechanics that we like to see in a horse. Moving forward, using all its pushing off from its hind legs and using itself well. It's got a great purpose when it does it, and it's an improving sort. By that, it means it'll improve in its depth and shape and strength.
Wasn't very big though, Pete, was he?
No, but for a small horse, it had a good girth, Robbie.
I'm only saying that because it might pull his price back. Because what was he as a pinhook? He was 140 weaning, wasn't he?
Something like that. But
it was quite expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, not every pinhook, sells for more than what it's been bought for, as we've noticed over the years. But knowing some of the family, it fits into the mould of the Do Well and Ultraman that you have in the stable. So
it's probably more like
as well.
He's probably more like Entremet, Kevin. In terms of height wise, and because Do Well got quite big, she followed the whole Dewporth sideline, but he's Fission's not very big. He's in that neat Russian mould, and that fella's more like Entremet. So the reason Peter and I were referring to that one size, if he's achievable to join the stable, we'd be hoping that he was more like the weanling price, because up here at the Magic Millions, people prefer to buy big, strong ones, don't they, Pete?
They do, or less than the weaning price would be a good get.
Yeah. But he's a nice horse, very nice.
Definitely on the radar. Definitely on the radar.
And so, Robbie, I'm guessing both yourself and Pete recognise the horse on the screen.
Yep.
Michelotti. So that's him there as a yearling.
Yep.
And we picked him. We pretty much stole him from the sale when you think of what he's gone on to do.
Basil's still bluing about his price.
He is still bluing. He's seen us the other day, and he nearly broke my hand when he shook it. I think he was still trying to punish us. But he's an above average looking horse with above average, pedigree being Sebring, and why he sold for 5 times below average price. I think the average was 280,000 or 260,000 or something, and we got him for 40. I don't know why. It was weird. And I think a few people missed out on buying shares in him because, like they said to you, Corey, there's something wrong with him. He's too cheap, and they wouldn't buy a share from memory.
I think with 1,000 horses, there has to be horses that fall through the cracks because there's just so many. So if you do the work, is that the only way you can find value, Robbie, or what other ways would you say you find value up here?
I think there's a bit of luck involved. In terms of one, there's 2 reasons. One, you make your own luck by doing all the work, like you said, Corey, definitely. And we did the work by, ticking all the boxes, making sure that we checked all those horses. So when he fell through the cracks, we were there to pick up the pieces. Because a lot of people, when they see a horse go cheaply, they think, there's something wrong. It's got bad x-rays, it's got a bent leg, or, there's some defect. So they won't go near them. They think, there's certainly something wrong with them. Where sometimes it's just nobody on that lot for whatever reason. They might be waiting for another favoured lot, down the track or whatever. So when they see one go through cheaply, they think that there's something wrong. There just wasn't anyone bidding for whatever the reason might be. So as fate has it, that was obviously the case with him. And we were the fortunate ones. It was unfortunate for Basil because their Raheen's a great stud that breed good horses. But our owners were the lucky recipients of a very, very affordable young horse that's turned out to be a dual city winner.
Just on that, Robbie, it is when you do so much the legwork and you meet the people and you see them at all the sales, you know who is a good breeder and who's not, and how the horses are reared and who's not, how they're reared well or not well. And the Nolans, especially Basil, it's been a great breeder, and great people, and you enjoy buying off those people, and they like selling to you even if they lose money, because they know they're going to get a good home and get every chance and help their relatives that they've got at home. So it's really important to have that relationship with the breeder.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly how they are. Yeah, they're a wonderful family, and they couldn't wait to congratulate you, and they were cheering for him at Flemington, and were disappointed he was held up to gain a run, and would have loved him to have won. And there's nothing for them to gain now. They don't own him. They don't get any bonuses because he's not a Bovis horse, and they're just wonderful people that breed good horses. So yeah, it's incredible. You think they'd be sort of disappointed when he went through for 40,000, but they went, oh well, that's the nature of the sales. And but yeah, you're right, Corey. That's the way it goes. You right place, right time. So even at a big sale like the Magic Millions, there's horses that can fall through the cracks, and he's one of them.
Yeah, and we bought one for 20,000 last year. That looks okay as well. So,
off Corumbean Stud. How many slipper winners have they bred, Pete? Corumbean Stud, about 3 or 4.
3 or 4 slipper winners.
It's incredible. I think one of the horses on that horse's page had sold for something like $2 million or whatever. And that horse we bought for $20,000. He's going along really well too. He's getting a bit cheeky though. I don't know if he'll stay at cold, unfortunately. Sorry guys, but he might not stay at cold. He's getting a bit cheeky, but for $20,000, we might have ourselves a really good racehorse because he's got a great pedigree.
With that, and that's, you only find those horses if you do the miles and do the work and follow things up, and that's another, getting nice $20,000 more than ready means you've worked hard and found it, and someone hasn't taken the chance early in the sale.
And Glenn O'Sullivan's got a really easy question here, Robbie, that I reckon anyone could really answer.
Robbie,
he wants to win the 2024 Golden Slipper, so he just wanted to know which horse is going to do that, if you could let us know.
Yeah.
So how do we find that?
How do we find that? Geez. We probably want to find it with the Zoo Star filly at maybe the Zoo Star filly 40 at Musk Creek, or do we find it with the Colt, or she's a nice one. We've got a few there. There's a few there. There's a few ones up there that are going to run pretty quick. So we're going to see how we go. We're going to work pretty hard this week, and we might get the stopwatch out and seal a few up. There's a couple that got loose on the end of the lead. One of the strappers, how's that strapper that got his shirt? The horse jumped on him 40.
Yeah, nice horse that got him too, by the way.
So we know the horse.
No, look, and look. You mentioned Zoo Star. I think there's some outstanding Zoo Star fillies that we've seen. You can see why they're so good, and the draft this year is no different. They're all exactly what you want to see in a young horse, with the their mechanics, the way they move, their attitudes, their temperaments. It's what you want to see. So it's no surprise Zoo Star's a good stallion, and Zoo Star's probably going to follow in his footsteps. They're a little bit more substance to them, but similar types of. Do you agree, Rob?
They look good. They look good to Zoo Saints, don't they?
Yeah,
they're good. Some of the young stands are looking good. The blue points look nice. The Paradas. Some of the Paradas look quite nice. We've got our eye on a couple of them.
Yeah, we have.
The Zoo Saints look good.
That's our next.
Sorry,
question.
Corey.
That was Steve Frankel and Brett Outens both asked which of the new stallions, first season stallions, we've been liking. So if you keep expanding on that, that'd be good.
Yeah, some of the blue points look good. We've got our eye on a couple of them. There's a nice blue point at a grey one at Strawberry Hill. It's good. There's a nice blue point out of a lot 95. She's a really nice filly.
Yeah.
Out of a European family, but she's a really nice filly. There's a nice blue point out of a mare I used to train, fast mare from New Haven 802. I mean, there's a really nice blue point, but he's probably going to make 6, 7, maybe 800,000. It could even be more because he's a half to Amelia's jewel that won the Group 1 in. Yeah, so he might even make $1 million or something. But
another one of your progeny trains that.
Hey,
Simon Miller trains that. Yeah,
one of the assistant trainers that come through the system. So Simon is a great fellow. Yeah, there's a nice yes, Colt, another young stallion that we're looking at out of a half to King Magnus. So there's some ever reliable street bosses that we like. There's some beautiful written tycoon. Colts. Whether they bring a lot of money, it's hard to know there because there's some beautiful I'm Invincibles. So
I think the I'm Invincibles this year are outstanding. So, the top 10 of
exceeding Excel.
Exceeding Excel is the nice Colts and fillies, of course.
There's a couple of beautiful fillies, and there's a lot of good Zoo Stars and a lot of good I'm Invincibles and a lot of nice writtens, and you just wonder with the volume of them and the volume you keep saying, look, there's $1 million, $1 million, 800, 600, and if all of those benchmarks are correct, how much of that money comes out of the market? Does it leave, some really nice horses there that would normally make 500 or 600? Do they make 300? Because a lot of the money's gone out of the market with these others, some of those, like there's some nice fast net colts that, might make less. They might make 300 or 400 where normally you'd be paying a lot more. I don't know. We don't know. We're just going to see how the market plays out because there's some, there's an outstanding, fast net rock colt there that, that should be a stallion that, might be able to get our way into the stable, all sorts of things like that, So, we're just going to see how it goes. There's a really nice dubious colt, there's a couple of those that look all right. They look a lot like they're not a single doubts, and a couple of nice Toronado colts. There's one early in the sale that we were looking at that's proven Toronado, that might get a little bit lost in the system because he's early. Did people sit back and wait for some of the Zoo Stars, or stay and people wait for some of the, some of the I'm Invincible? So they're all the sort of strategies that, Pete and Matt and myself will be thinking about as we sort of work our way when the ball bounces tomorrow and see which way it goes, But what we do know, there's a lot of quality up there, and we're going to try and bring in the right ones.
Yeah. Do we look in a certain question from Peter Rogers? Do you focus on a certain distance range when you're selecting a crop, or do you look across the board?
No, we look across the board. Like, we bought Aberfeldy Boy, which is on your screen there. And we, when we bought him for Jim Hogan, his owner, you would never have thought, we'd find a Derby horse at Magic Millions. You just think you buy a horse like that at, Karaka or Easter or one of those places there. You think I'll go buy a stayer in New Zealand or Europe or Easter, a classic sort of a place. You don't think you go to Magic Millions to buy yourself a Derby horse, But so you think out of a Zabeel mare out of Gerard Denise family, because Singo has a really good classic family there, and he sells his horses at the Magic Millions because naturally, being an part owner of the company, So, he's a horse that really fell through the cracks because I think he was 220 or 250 or something like that. Now he probably would have made 500 or 600 or possibly even 800,000 at Sydney Easter, because there was a horse there that 40 and I seen at Easter when Matt and I were there, and the three of us were looking at it going, oh, it's nowhere near in the league of him, and it made, I think it was made $1 million or 1.2 million. It was nowhere near as nice, So these are the sort of things that happen because people are probably at the Magic Millions trying to buy themselves a slipper horse or a Magic Millions horse and not thinking of a classic, stayer. So you've got to have your eyes wide open just in case a nice staying horse comes past you, whether it be a So You Think or a Done Deal or a Castle Vecchio, or, you can't be just narrow-minded to just buying a speed horse. So if one of those horses crosses our path, we're not going to be thinking just buy ourselves a sprinter. We'll be taking advantage of it. And so when we spoke to Jim and said, you wouldn't believe it, we found the most beautiful stayer, and he was quite early in the piece, And sure enough, we bought him, and here he is now. You know, a classic Group 1 stayer.
Yeah. And so, just on the question on the screen there, Robbie, pedigree or type. Obviously, you mentioned type before as their physical appearance, but what's more important to you?
Because it was on my phone, I couldn't actually read it. It was too small. Sorry. I think as Pete touched on before, you always get type first, and then you need everything. You need all of those things. You must have the type first. Unless you have the athlete, you got nothing to start with. So that must come first. You won't want a horse in the stable unless it has a pedigree. So there's no point having a good type with no pedigree behind it. So you've got to have both is the answer. You've got to be greedy and have both. And then it's got to have the nicks and crosses.
Sorry, Robbie. Type really a question. So people have asked, what does it mean? Pedigree and type. You know, and if we try to explain type, there's a picture on the screen of a beautiful type. We look at from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail and everything down that goes towards the ground, and we know what every part of that horse does and what it means and how it works in relation to the rest of him. And we have an acceptable criteria that we overlay on every horse as we're looking at it. It might only take 3 or 4 steps, and then a little bit more closer inspection. But type, and I've been asked this a lot. What does type mean? Well, it's just the style of horse that you're looking at, and the screen is a perfect example. You know, he's standing, his hocks are in a perfect position, his knees are flat, he's got beautiful head and eye and outlook and nostril, with great rein and shoulder and girth and hindquarters where he gets the driving from. You know, so if that helps people to understand what type is, that's what it is. Pedigree, horses that look like what they should, in saying that he looks like his pedigree suggests he should. You know, horses will take on the look of a So You Think, or take on the look of a Fastnet Rock, or whichever part of the pedigree, you know, seems to dominate. And there is a genotype that we follow. We know that we don't like buying chestnuts out of, you know, good producing bay horses, for instance. So, and vice versa. So it's all, everything's relative and everything's different, and there's so many variables, but type, balance, and conformation is crucial. And usually horses like that will have a good pedigree because they come from a nice family.
That answers that.
Yeah.
And I think we're almost towards the end here, Robbie.
Yep.
We've got, do you reckon? Yep, Bubbleberry. So there you go, 3 horses there. I've managed to pick the 3 out that we picked up in 2021. It would have been now, and I can be safe to say, I mean, you can never guarantee anything, Robbie, but it's safe to say that there'll be a few nice city winners out of last year's crop of Magic Millions horses based on what they're doing at home.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, nobody gets it right at every sale. I mean, but if you can tick as many boxes as you can, that's the whole idea of all the work you do, is just to try and eliminate risk and maximize opportunity. That's why we work as hard as we do. So to try and, you know, use successful formulas and years of experience to give ourselves and our ownership group the best possible chance, you know. So you don't want to get out of bed at 3 o'clock every morning to fail, that's for sure. So and I think that we're proving each year that we're getting a little better at what we do. So hopefully these ones that we buy this year, you know, there's an Overfeldy boy and a Glen Fiddick and a Very Bubbly like that, and horses like that can come back and possibly win a Magic Millions or win a Slipper or get amongst the action in the Group 1 races is what we all do it for. So we'll work hard and try and get one tomorrow and all week, you know.
Yeah, I guess the next bit is how do people get involved, and most people that are online now would know, but obviously we'll put this recording out and people will see it. But to get involved, it's pretty simple. You just contact the stable, email myself through, follow our social media. We honestly would love to have as much support as possible, and the better support that we get from our ownership group, the better opportunity the boys have to train top level horses. And by training top level horses, they give themselves a better chance of success. And you can see that through the last couple of years of sales. So get in touch, guys. We thank you for joining us.
Or is there many people on the webinar that are up here that might want to join us to walk around, look at the horses whilst they're at the Gold Coast? Or is there any more questions that people want to ask whilst they're on the webinar? Because I can't see how many on the silly phone.
Yeah, yell out, guys. There's a few, Robbie, that are up here that I know for sure that are logged on and will catch up with us while they're up here. But anyone else that's there that might have a question before we log off, or if you have a question and you just wanted to give us a call, Robbie, Matt, and 40 will be pretty flat out, but I'll always have my phone on me and always be able to either answer or give you a call back within 5 or 10 minutes while we're up here at the sale. So if you have a question on a horse, just give me a call.
Even though we're going to be very busy, I mean, that once we get a little bit organised, there might be little windows of opportunity where some of the guys that are here might want to have a little walk around and have a look at some of the things we look at, and it's great to get involved in, especially when we have a bid, and get involved in the excitement of. There's nothing more exciting than when we're having a bid on one,
Yeah, well, Robbie, I've also just so for the guys that are online, I've got a VIP, so I've got all the same WhatsApp channels, Facebook, everything is normal, and everyone will still get spammed by me during sales week. That's my job.
Sure.
But I've also got a VIP list for those people that love to see everything, and I'm going while the sale's going, and anytime we're bidding, I'm going to try and get pretty much as close to the action as we can for them. So sure. And that might involve tomorrow, if we're about to go and bid on a horse, maybe when we go and have that third inspection or fourth inspection on the horse, I can put that straight in the group. So if anyone wants to be added to that group that's not already in it, just text me through and I'll add them to it. And obviously they'll get spammed a lot more than everyone else, but if some people love that sort of stuff, so more than welcome. And we want our owners to be basically seeing everything we see.
All right. Well, sometimes with the webinars, it's us talking, guys, but, if there's questions there that aren't answered, or you want to be more, part of the action during the sales week, getting involved if you happen to be up here, because even though we're busy at doing inspections, but now we're getting on top of it, you may as well be part of it if you're up here, it's quite exciting.
All right, I've clicked out here, Robbie, there's a nice little photo of you, Shirani, and your daughter. So I'm glad that's the photo that's up and not something dodgy. But that's good. That's a nice photo.
Who put that up there?
Well, it must be on you. It must be your profile.
It's screensaver.
So
is that my screensaver? Is it?
Must be. So anyway,
I'm a good sire, aren't I? I'm a good sire. See.
My word, I mean, your daughter's way taller than you, Robbie.
Yeah. So
I had flats on.
Yeah.
All right, we might log off there. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Right. And like I said, reach out if you want any more info, and we can make sure we get it for you.
All right, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Appreciate it very much.
See you later, everybody.
See you, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, 40. See ya.